Indoor sport.
Everybody good? All right, Coach, you can start us off.
Now we hit the road to Columbia, South Carolina. Play against a South Carolina team that started the league playing really, really well. I think a lot of things have come together for them, and like all Frank Martin's team, they're going to be defensive minded, very physical, great size, a great player in Silva. He's had a phenomenal career. Seems like the guy's been there for 6 years, and he just keeps getting better. They have size inside, and something we're going to have to contend with, and they've got some talented young players. The Lawson kid, the Bryant kid, and the Gravitt kid is playing well for them. So we've got to answer the bell in terms of the physicality of what's going to take place in this game. You know, their mindset is every rebound is theirs, and they want to go get it. So we're going to really have to bow down and just kind of keep people off the glass and get to the glass ourselves. But tempo is going to be big in this game here, and so it's the next game on our schedule. It's the second half of conference play, if I'm not mistaken. So we look forward to the challenge.
It's on the hill with Pat Jenkins.
I was going to ask you, you're 5-4 at the halfway point, obviously on a roll right now. How do you feel about where you guys are at the halfway point and what you can do in the second half of the conference season?
There's room for improvement, Bob. I think we're starting to get some key guys that's starting to play at a consistent level. That's the key, is consistency level. You know, obviously Daniel, we know what's expected out of him, what people are coming at him, they're doubling, and he's got to be able to deflect to some of the other guys. And I think when those guys step up, it takes a lot of the load off of Daniel. So, and when those forwards we talked about, the Gabe, Adrio, and Reggie Chaney, when they bring rebounding, intensity, defensive mindset, and scoring, open up the floor, I think it makes us a much better basketball team. But the biggest thing is when you go on the road, you got to shoot the basketball well. So hopefully that's something we can take with us. Defense is going to have to be really, really good, and the finishing part of defense is rebounding the basketball. So where we are right now, we still got a ways to go to get where I want to get to, but I think we're moving in the right direction because we're getting multiple guys now. You know, Keyshawn has started giving us some quality minutes. Gabe is giving us quality minutes coming off. Desi, Reggie Chaney. So our bench is starting to impact this team, and along with the guys that are starting off. And so getting off to a good start is going to be a big key in this game.
Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. It's our February 8th edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. It's our A edition, as we do it each and every Friday. We'd like to get you guys ready for all coming sporting events for the University of Arkansas, and none bigger than Arkansas traveling to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks, coached by Frank Martin. Big road test, another road test that Arkansas hopefully can go out and start, the second half of this conference season, on a good note and get that first win. They got their first one in the first half, so you hopefully, and it was on the road, also, Demetrius. I want to bring in my co-host and my home guy, D. What's going on, brother?
Man, I'm laughing at you, bro. My bro said home guy.
You like that? My home guy. Yeah, we got a big show for you. We're going to be talking Fastest 40. You know how we do it, D. Scotty Borderland. Scotty does a great job for us, don't you think? Who else do we talk Fastest 40 with that can give it to us in the manner that he does?
Nobody better. I really love the attention to detail that Scotty has. He's very informative and well informed at that. And I think he really does a good job just studying and doing his homework. He's very articulate when he asks questions. He doesn't ask too many, but I think he always asks the right one and the one least expected out of the room. So I really love to watch Scotty at work.
Also, too, at 1:30, you know, this recruit never stops, and you always want to talk about it after the fact, kind of more analyzation. And we're going to have Otis Kirk of Hogville.net. Otis is going to come on and, you know, talk about that impressive class. Make a note. You know, it came out today, D, that Justin Stepp, Arkansas wide receiver coach, was voted one of the top 25 recruiters in college football. Now, mind you, we're talking about a program that went 0-8, had won 11 games. But prior, when you take out the 0-8 and take out 2-10, you know, when Justin and that staff got here, I mean, not a lot of promise, you could say. There were talent, but not promise, I think, from what they were looking at. And then he goes and brings Mike Woods. Think about that. Mike Woods, and then the 4 studs that he's been able to bring in. These guys are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5". Kind of the connection, why he's one of the top 25 recruiters in college football, and why there is so much optimism at that wide receiver core going forward. And also Carlin Jackson's there, so I mean, think about that, my man. The future for Coach Stepp and what he's able to bring in, unbelievable, don't you think?
Yeah, it's huge. I think he really has NFL guys over there, and I think that's really just going to open up the offense for next year. I don't think it's going to be so much pressure on the quarterback position to really make plays. He's going to have a lot of guys around him that he can kind of lean on to really get the job done and put up some points for the Arkansas Razorbacks.
We're going to take you back for a minute before we have Scotty on. We're going to have highlights of last year's SEC tournament game with Arkansas and South Carolina, as Arkansas was able to knock off the Gamecocks. And we'll let you just take a ride on down on the A. A little hog walking we're going to do today. And then we're going to reach back and bring in our good buddy of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette, Scotty Borderland. He'll be up next. It's the A. And it's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
position understands that we talk about Macon, we talk about Barford, and obviously we got Gafford now, but Beard's been around a while, senior point guard. If he gives them some buckets now and then, Arkansas to cut the guys with you. It's pretty hard to see that bounce pass. South Carolina's zone is solved in a big way. I love the pass that Anton Beard made from the half court quickly to the middle of the floor. And then down below, that was executed perfectly, but give Beard the credit. Got his team set in an offensive set against the half-court trap. Watch what Beard does now. When he catches this one, it's going to go right to the middle of the floor on a bullet. Boom, Trey Thompson is great with the basket. Outstanding with the ball, and Darius Hall with an easy finish. Watch how this pass is, Tom. Right on the money, hard. Trey Thompson, this is what he does best. Give him all up. Great passing, big man. That's Darius Hall, the freshman. Above the rim, he's got 7 here early after Kotsar kept it alive. Silva on the bench with 2 fouls. Minaya open. Got it. That's a big-time shot for South Carolina. That stroke is Thompson falling away. Tough angle for the big fella. Can do a lot of things. Here's Booker to fire. Boom! Frank Booker hits his first 3. Puts it up and in for 3. Oh, there it is. C.J. Jones gave it a ride. Arkansas in a nip and tuck game takes an 8-point lead at the half. They started off red hot. They cooled, but then at the end, a 6-0 run over the last minute 52. You're a shooter and a scorer. How do you look for your shot without forcing your shot, Gafford? It's quite easy in the Arkansas offense. It's pace, right? Up and down the floor. Back you have 2 fouls. Just get in playing a guy like Silva, who's so active. Big mistake. 4-on-1. Lead it jam. What does Frank Martin worry about? Well, the start of the game. Playing on the hands of what this Razorback team wants to do. You get a turnover, you can't get back because your point guard is able to win his lane. No weak side help, and Silva's back. Bias lonesome with 2 fouls. Nothing he can do. Yeah, because he was a star. That notice played point for him last year. Blind pass, Gafford over the top of Kotsar. Pretty good and efficient offensive possession started by Anton Beard. Controlling the pace, controlling where they're going. Good backdoor cut by Macon, and then the finish. Inside. Kotsar has really turned into an offensive threat down the stretch. He played well last night.
Welcome back. It's our Friday edition of On the A with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. That's my special edition. I always like Fridays, and we're in attempts to bring on our good buddy and talk fastest 40 with Arkansas Democrat Gazette Scotty Borderland. We'll have him on momentarily, but real quick, I want to get our sponsors out and tell them what our appreciation. Lindsay & Associates with an office location in Fayetteville. An office location also too in Rogers, the Baymont Hotel. It's located at 735 South Shiloh Drive, and Locomotion located just below the Northwest Arkansas Mall. But momentarily making attempts to get a hold to and be joined momentarily by our good buddy, Arkansas Democrat Gazette Scotty Borland. But I'm going back over here to my home. What was it? My home good. My home G. What? See, it was so quick. I don't even know what I said. I say so much on the show.
You don't fumble now. You don't fumble now. I forgot what it was myself.
Hey, I have a sense of humor. I forgot what I called you. Was you my home G? Or was my home D? I'm trying to figure it out, Dimitri.
I'm going to let you know after the show.
It's just Friday. I mean, so much be going on Friday. I'm so excited. It's the end of the week. We've had a great week here on the show. Like I said, I want to apologize momentarily. We will be joined by our friend Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. But, I was telling you, we were talking outside the show before we came on the air. And Demetrius, I made a note to you. A lot of people may not know. There was an article came out, and Chad Morris was getting a lot of love. Like big time love for his ability to be able to recruit. When he's able to go out, you go 2-10, 0-8, and you sign a top 20 class. I mean, that's going to, as we like to say in terms, wake them up. Talk about that. I mean, his ability to do what he did, and, you know, Justin Stepp, an assistant here at Arkansas, gets into that top 25 recruiters. Over the years, Barry Lundy's another guy that's been in that astute company, as well as Ron Cooper, John Chavis, Jeff Traylor. With the history of what these coaches, as far as their ability to be named as top 25 recruiters, just what's the ceiling, you know, for the 20 class, the 21, 22? As long as this staff can, you know, stay together, Demetrius, what is the potential here for Chad Morris and the Arkansas football program?
It's huge, man. I think all these coaches on the coaching staff bring their own accreditation that brings, you know, a different element to recruiting. Even when you look at the defensive coordinator in chief, you know, he's well renowned throughout the South, you know, for having top defenses and putting a lot of elite defenders in the NFL. So I think you go along with guys like you said, Coach Stepp, and then you go along with other coaches, and you were talking about coaches that have won Big 12 Recruiter of the Year, and, you know, like you said, Coach Stepp being in the top 25. I think that only helps Arkansas, because you add great recruiting with things that you can physically and futuristically sell to these kids, like businesses and a degree from the University of Arkansas, because I think that in itself brings value to the program.
Man, you full of good knowledge today, man. What's going on? You have all you just, and I want to say he's growing, listeners. He's growing, and one of these days he's gonna be sitting in my chair. I mean, you know, I don't want to teach him too much. You know, I still want to keep my job. Don't you think, D? I mean, you're gonna have both jobs. You're gonna be the producer, and you're gonna be over doing this.
I'm always gonna be behind the scene, man. I'm good. I just kind of like to dabble, play my little music, and then sit back.
The blueprint, huh?
I just like to sit back.
But I want everybody to know all beats that you hear are produced by my good buddy Jimmy God. So if you're looking for also, you know, any type of singer or anything, he does that too. I mean, it's a sports show. See, I'm on sports. I'm also promoting music. I mean, should I be? So I guess I'm gonna be your agent when somebody you sign get real big, and
for sure.
Is that how it's gonna go?
Yeah, we can.
Well, let's get it. Still momentarily trying to make a connection with Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. We may still try to push him back to a later hour before we get out of here. But while we're doing that, we caught up, and there was a question. You know, if you see a lot of social media and there's things, you don't see the Arkansas gear on the players, you know, there's a reason behind that. And you see the word earn. We caught up with Chad Morris in the National Signing Day press conference, and that question was posed. And we'll let you hear what Chad had to say. Still making attempts to get with Scotty Borderland, but, you know, the real thing I want to talk about is, you know, the thing I've seen, and I mentioned it, and we'll bring you audio here shortly, was Chad Morris. You know, the fact that he's not letting his players, you know, wear the official Razorback gear that they're so blessed to wear. It's a situation, I think, you know, and when we bring you the audio and we bring this attention to you, I think you'll be more aware of his reasons why. When you see on social media, you just see him in gray shirts. You know, it looks like a little black magic marker written on a little T-shirt, like you wore when you were in 6th, 7th grade. You know, those type of things. It's a situation where I think when a coach does that, I think it's a program changer. This is in year 2, and I think Chad should have the right, you know, to do his program as such. And I think, you know, when these kids buy in, and you can see more and more, you can see more of the older guys buying in, Demetrius. You can see more of each and every one of these players starting to put forth effort. And, you know, Chad talked about that. And for those that have just joined in, you know, I want to preface and set our interview up, our audio up. You know, there was a question posed in the press conference as to the reason why the young men are not wearing their Razorback gear during the summer workouts. And we caught up with Chad, and this is what Chad had to say about what the team word means.
full throttle and ready. They'll come up and go through evaluations for our team doctors, but our doctors be in touch with theirs and making sure that everybody's on the right page. And so we anticipate those guys being ready to go for sure for fall camp and summer workouts.
Coach, it was your first year recruiting in the SEC, you know, the full cycle. Any big lessons you learned that'll help inform how you do things in 2020?
No, just be yourself. I mean, be yourself and be genuine. We've got so much to sell. At the University of Arkansas, we've got a tremendous upside to coming here and making an impact. But no, there's no magic potion. It's all about relationships. It's all about getting out and working, and sharing your vision.
Linebacker, is that possibly something that you would look at between now and the end of spring and stuff? I mean, maybe just signing one right now in the class.
Yeah, we'll definitely be looking and see where we go with that. You never know how it all unfolds through the course of spring and into summer. But yeah, we'll be open and you know, with the positions we have available right now, the scholarships we have available, we're open to several things.
I was just looking at the roster. I'm guessing next year, I don't mean to jump you too far, but you guys are already out doing stuff in recruiting for next year. But it looks like quarterback, running back, I guess linebacker, maybe safety would be a couple of areas that you guys would hit. What are your thoughts on maybe areas that you would hit more than maybe in a normal year?
Well, you know, I mentioned earlier about quarterback. We're always in the quarterback market, doesn't matter what year. Running backs, we feel like that. You know, we'll continue to explore that. You know, with the graduation of some, maybe a potential of someone leaving early. You never know those things. You know, you've got to build your O-line and D-line though. You got to be. It's a line of scrimmage league. I think one of the big focuses too would be corner, and continue to get speed. We've got to continue to address the areas of speed, and now we got this class. This is our team. I mean, we got to. And we got to develop the guys that we have, and the guys that are here that are putting in the hard work, and is understand that this is now the next step is we got to continue to develop these guys. Recruiting never stops. It never stops. And we're recruiting, got 2020s and 2021s on the phone all day long today, and just sharing with them that they're next. And so, but we'll be open for a lot of areas.
Hey, Chad, where are you at in the process of replacing hiring a replacement for John Scott? And is it possible? I know Steve Caldwell's just coached the whole line before. Is it possible you might hire a special teams coordinator? What are you looking at for that spot?
Yeah, there is. There's a possibility of that, but or a special teams coordinator that will coach a position as well. So there's different options there. We hope to have a replacement. Definitely before the start of spring ball. Obviously, we'd like to have something in there in the next few days if we could.
The earn everything thing to kind of hit winter conditions. Can you talk about what led to that, where the guys are in stages of earning back their things?
Well, we just talked about it's a big deal to play football at the University of Arkansas, and there's no entitlement. You know, we've got to get away from that. We're not entitled to it. We've got to earn it. And so we sat down, we talked, and you know, kind of talked with the staff, and felt like, you know, the word that kept coming up. I'm big on finding one word that really you're going to focus on for a team, for a person, for you as a personal, in your personal life, whatever it may be. And what is your one word? And we've challenged our players with that. Well, our one word for our team is every. And I asked our players just to think of a word that follows every, and it matters. Whether it's one, or body, or breath, or rep, or game, or practice, every matters. So whatever follows every matters. And the biggest thing is every day counts. And it really counts when you're at the last day and you look backwards and go, you know what, that day in February, February 6th, when it was a yoga and a recovery day, and it was optional to come, that day counted. That day counted, especially when you're sitting in December and you're looking forward at it. And so that kind of resonated home with our players and with me and our staff. And I felt like, you know what, we got to go back to, we got to earn things. And so from coaches to players, to strength staff, to training staff, everybody, recruiting department. We got to earn everything, and so that I know that our players have been very appreciative. Last week was was a week that we had to pull a win out on Friday. We had to have a perfect Friday to win, and when you win, you earn a piece of gear. We earned a pair of shorts, so we have a Razorback logo on our shorts, and so we're excited about that. Hopefully this week we can get a win and we'll get another piece of gear. So, but it is, and that'll be an opportunity, and eventually we'll earn our way back into our locker room.
Welcome back to our A edition of On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio. We let you hear an extensive part of National Signing Day audio with Coach Chad Morris. I call him Coach Mo. That's what I'm going to start calling him, Demetrius. I'm going to start calling him Coach Mo. Because if he can bring Mo good classes, then don't you think that's going to be his new name, Coach Mo?
Coach Mo, I'm cool with that. I think he'll ride with that.
That's the new jig word. You know, I told you that's going to be my new stuff. It's the jig. I'm jigging today. That's what I'm doing. But unfortunately, we were unable to connect up as we're still going to try to make connections with Scotty Borland of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette at 1:45 before we get out of here to talk a little fastest for you game keys as Arkansas travels to Columbia, South Carolina to take on the South Carolina Gamecocks under Frank Martin. You'll be able to catch that game tomorrow on the SEC Network. Arkansas will be taking into that game a 4-game winning streak, but we're going to get a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to recap this recruiting class with Otis Kirk of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479.
The more they understand and appreciation for what they have to earn. And, you know, we have, our hogs, it's H is have, O is one, G is goal, and S is success. Have one goal, success. Whatever success is in your life, that's what we're after. And that's a big deal, and we want a love for that. We want those guys to understand that. And when you then recruit to that and build a team to that, then you find quickly that it's more than just the player. And I've said this since I've gotten here. There's such thing as great players that don't fit us. That's okay. We don't want them. There's great players that do fit us, and those who we have to go get. And when you start looking and you start talking to the parents, and whether it's the grandmas, the aunties, whoever is the closest impact person in their life, and you understand that they're winners and that they have a love and appreciation for their most prized possession or commodity to be taken care of, and that's when you know. And so it's when you meet our players, it's phenomenal. When you meet the parents, it's unbelievable.
Now that you go to the next stage in spring football coming up just about 3 weeks away, what's the goal between now and then? And are you worried about quarterback? Because obviously you've lost a couple and maybe one's playing another sport this spring.
No, am I worried about quarterback? I mean, no, we've got to continue to develop guys. I mean, we've got to have a competition and we've got to continue to push. And but no, I'm not worried about that. I think that'll work itself out. I think between now and spring, we got to continue to grow closer as a team, which we're working at. We've got a few weeks ahead of us to get through quarter one of our winter conditioning, and when we do that, then we'll introduce quarter two on, I think it's Monday the 25th, and spring ball starts on the 26th, and you know, that'll take the next step into our development.
We talked to Dave Van Horn the other day. He said you and he had a conversation about dividing up Connor's time. I mean, do you anticipate Connor being at all every spring practice, or how do you feel about that situation?
Well, you know, we always talk about one Razorback, and I think Connor's going to exemplify what that means. And you know, there's got to be great communication between Coach Van Horn and myself, and we're constantly talking. We'll talk a couple times a week. Matter of fact, I think I may go down and watch him pitch Saturday. And so I think at the end of this, and we look at it, we got to make sure that the number one focus is Connor Nolan. And he can't get lost in the shuffle, making sure that he's taken care of as far as just the wear and tear on himself. And so he's been in workouts with us this week. he goes down and he pitches, and he goes down and gets his workout in baseball, and there's a great relationship that we have, our strength staff has with their strength staff, and we're talking daily or every other day, making sure we're monitoring his workload. So I'm excited for Connor, and I know that Coach Van Horn is as well, and I think he has a chance to be a very special player here.
Coach, you mentioned Catalan, just the type of player, what he brings on the field, and the playmaker he is. If you can kind of give us an insight of that, is he a corner, is he safety, is he all of that? And then I'm curious to top 5 players, if you remember some of those guys that you would put in the top 5 along with him.
Yeah, I've watched Deshaun Watson play. I've watched Vince Young play. I mean, there's been some great ones that we've seen, and I have to go back and think of some more. But he's up there. I mean, he's very instinctive, especially when you see what he's having to do in all phases, offense, defensively. He played quarterback, also comes and doubles as safety. Phenomenal baseball player. I mean, he's a well-rounded athlete, and was a great basketball player. When you look at that and you look at the impact that he has on his team, I think the one word I would say more than anything is just extremely instinctive, and he loves to play the game.
New graphic and a new hashtag. Just tell us what's going behind Diamond Gang and Diamond Gang XX hashtag.
Well, it's part of our creative team and their creative thinking and marketing, and with from Cody Vincent and Brooks Cockrell, and we've got Jake in there, SJ. It's been everybody that we challenge our creative team to really do a lot of brainstorming, and as we roll out our 20.
Welcome in. Unfortunately, we're still trying to make connections. I guess being Friday, being at TGIF, nobody wants to come to work. Don't you think? I mean, no, we will be having our good buddy Scotty Borderland on at 1:45. We made connections, and we'll be by phone. We'll be talking with Scotty here momentarily. And hopefully, maybe we can get up. Otis is so busy, he might have already, Demetrius, start looking for the Diamond Gang. That's Chad's, Arkansas's new 2020 deal. At first it was a 2020 vision, and then it became the Diamond Gang. What you think of that kind of stuff? The Diamond Gang pretty fresh.
Gang.
I have to give him credit on that.
I don't know. Arkansas is a traditional school, so I don't know how they're gonna feel about that. Gang.
You think?
Gang.
The Diamond Gang pretty live.
It is live.
I had a kid. We also do recruiting on here, but I won't say the kid's name. But I had a kid say, Mr. Pat, do you know who came up with that? No, I'll check, but that's pretty live. So it's just things that I think this staff has been able to do in the short period of time that they've been here. And it's official. We have touch base with our good buddy Otis Kirk of Hogville.net will be joining us here shortly. Momentarily, I can see him on the screen, and you guys are about to see him on the screen here momentarily. But Otis is a busy man. Otis is a real busy guy, and I think all has been fixed. Otis. Oh wow! How is that? Can you hear me, Otis?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Can you? Yeah, I hear you good.
I think you might be a little. Okay. Let's talk recruiting. Get off into it.
Okay.
Now we've had time to break down this class. 25 roster. What's your general take, on this group, and how big of an impact early can this class have?
Well, I think they'll have a big impact early, immediate impact. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I think they'll have a big impact immediately, Pat. Especially wide receiver, and then some of the defensive backs, some of the defensive linemen, Spivey. Obviously, Ben Hicks is not, he's coming in to have an impact, But I think everybody, tight end Hudson Henry will have a chance. I think most of the guys will have a chance to play immediately. You think of the JUCO offensive linemen, you don't know about the high school offensive linemen. It'd be great to redshirt them, but you never know if you can. But I like the class. I really think that maybe an older quarterback and a linebacker or two, and with what they've got left, might be okay. I know people will say, well, you got an older quarterback. I'd like to see them get a dual threat, but if they don't, it's not the end of the world. But another linebacker, you had two linebackers on February the 6th. They both chose to go elsewhere. So I think they could use another linebacker in this class. But basically, I mean, it's in good shape how it sits. I mean, if you've got 3 scholarships to play with, though, Pat. If you can find someone that you think can make an impact out of those 3, then, 1 to 3, you take them. Get them.
Otis, when you look at linebacker, Monte Spivey, in my opinion, was the biggest get of the entire class. This is a guy that had committed to you back in August. There's going to be a lot of suitors with him. Many thought he was the number 1 running back in the state of Alabama. Coach Morris talked about that. How big was getting a Monte, not only for this year, but, there's 2 or 3 guys in next year's class and another running back in the class behind that Arkansas has offered. How big will getting a Monte be, and could he have a real big early impact in that backfield?
Well, I think he can because you've got 4, but man, injuries hit that position. But I think you always look for additional running backs, help. I mean, there's just so many times. Look at the Ole Miss game last year where they lost 2 that went down immediately. But the biggest thing, Pat, I think it was big for the future as much as now, and I do think he will help this year. But they have 1 senior and 3 juniors at running back. So I don't know if there was a more important signing simply by needing to look out for the future. He and you could even say that about tied in with Hudson Henry because, you've got O'Grady and Grayson, and that's it, And so I think it was big to get these guys. But in the case of Spivey, they have 4 kids that are all upperclassmen, and no one in the sophomore and freshman class on scholarship there. So I think it was a must that they get a Monte Spivey. I thought the 4 kids that they were waiting for on Wednesday, I thought he might be the most important simply because of that. They had to have a younger running back. People can say, well, you can get a transfer quarterback. Transfer running back. You don't need another older one. You needed a younger one, and that's why it made him so important.
Right. Otis, real quick, it came out today also that Justin Stepp was voted one of the top 25 recruiters in all of college football. When you look at it, 4 stars, I mean, that's pretty big. That's pretty big haul right there. Talk about just Arkansas, from a recruiter standpoint. Barry Lunny, Stepp, Jeff Traylor, who we know played a big part when he was at Texas, and getting them to where they are, getting that talent pool. Talk about the staff and just what is the ceiling? If they can do this on a 2-10 season, what's the ceiling if this team gets 6 or 7 wins and say next year or the year beyond? How good could this class be?
I think it's huge. I think Mark Smith deserves that too. I mean, he went into Mansfield Legacy and got all 3 of those kids, and they cross recruit. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, I mean, Stepp, you asked me about him. I mean, he has 4 wide receivers that are 4 stars, and I know he played a role in John David White, who is not a scholarship guy, but I think it's a guy that can give them a lot and can help this team at wide receiver, not counting special teams and stuff, but at wide receiver. So he actually got, to me, 5 wide receivers who can play, and 4 of them are 4 stars. And the biggest thing was the Stepp realized that they needed to get receivers, get some separation, and go get the 50-50 balls. And those are some things that maybe they weren't doing as well last year that helped lead to some of the problems they had,
Well, as always, Otis, we love having you on. I know it never stops as Arkansas has a big prospect day coming up this Sunday. But as always, man, I'll catch up with you, and thanks for taking time out here on OTH.
Thanks, man. Talk to you later.
All
See
right.
you.
That was Otis Kirk of Hogville.net making time. I mean, that's always special when you can make time to come on. And I know Otis is a busy guy. You know, recruiting is a year-round sport, Demetrius, and that's just, I mean, it's real special. But I think we have audio from Enoch Jackson Jr. From his signing day, and then we'll come back momentarily and have Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins on KDSJ 479. Back in a bit.
You know, it's a humbling and blessing experience just playing with these guys before and just taking it to the next level. You know, that's something that a lot of people would like to do in life. So that we get a chance to do that, you know, that's just important to me. And it's just like a real special feeling. And we have that connection, that bond. And when you have that bond, special things start to happen.
And knowing that you're going to play in Arkansas, how exciting is finally knowing that you're going to play in that school and what you're going to get a chance to do there?
You know, it's very exciting, you know, all the stress and, you know, picking a school, that's over with. Now that, you know, I've picked my college, you know, it's very exciting to know. We talk to the coaches all the time, and I'm just excited for the future, man. Excited.
Welcome back in. It's On the Hill with Pat Jenkins Sports Talk Radio, and we said we'd catch up with him, the guy that's almost as fast as 40. Sound good, don't it, Demetrius? He's just as fast as 40. Our good buddy, Scotty Borderland of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Scotty, welcome back to OTH, my brother.
I didn't know, like, I guess I've been so scatterbrained today. I'm not sure how I forgot. I needed to come hang out with you about a half hour ago, but I'm glad to be back on.
Scotty, let's talk about this basketball team. Oh, what a difference probably 2 weeks can make. It seems that this team, coming out of that Texas Tech hard-fought, you know, disappointing loss in the SEC Big 12 Challenge, didn't leave a lot of the fan base with a very encouraging taste. Now we come back 4 games later. It's a whole different story. What has been, you know, the key to such a dramatic turnaround, in your opinion, Scotty?
Yeah, I think it starts with the defensive side of things. Like, this team is, I think, playing a lot more connected than it was. You know, I guess right after you beat Texas A&M, you go through a string of games where you give up 94, 106 on the road, and then 84 on the road, and you're kind of searching for answers defensively a little bit.
Right.
I mean, you're playing three of the better teams like at LSU, Tennessee, and Ole Miss when Arkansas played them. I think we're made up 3 of the top 4 teams in the league as far as offensive efficiency goes. And so I think, like, playing Missouri, Georgia, LSU, and Vanderbilt, you know, in a 4-game stretch in conference play, I think it's a little bit of a step down in competition, and I think that obviously plays a little bit part of it. But Arkansas is growing up a little bit, and you know, I think they probably feel pretty fortunate to win the last 2 games. But you're finding ways and finding guys, 2 different guys to step up in big moments, and not. I don't think we can ignore that. And, you know, I think they're kind of finding their roles. Everybody's kind of finding their roles, and I think Mike does a pretty good job. I don't know that he gets a whole lot of credit for just defining roles for guys and telling them to just go get it. And I think that, and being connected defensively, I think that's been huge in this turnaround.
Something that shocked me in this past Tuesday night's game was Gabe Osaborn did not take 1 shot. It always seemed in the earlier games, and it really is to point at what you're saying, understanding your role. We've seen multiple games where Gabe would come in and take an ill-advised 3 for no apparent reason. Here over the last couple of weeks, he's been able to hit those, but I think, you know, there was a point in the game Tuesday night where he could have taken that 3 and, you know, realized, hey, this is not my game. You know, talk about that. And then, you know, and Keyshawn, you know, these guys, when they come into the press conferences now, Scotty, are talking like more mature players that are starting to really figure the game out. Is that what you're, walking out of the gym, kind of understanding that maybe these guys are getting it?
Yeah, I think so. And I was not expecting Gabe to not take a single shot against Vanderbilt the other night. During that stretch last year, I think against Vanderbilt in South Carolina, when Arkansas played them in Bud Walton, I think that was kind of the time when, he kind of got his feet wet in conference and kind of showed Mike that, hey, maybe I could be of some use if you need me.
Right.
But he came up with 2 steals the other night and an assist, and he had 5 assists at LSU the other day. Or I think Mike Caleb said they ended up with 6, so that even better. He was shooting the ball from 3 pretty well for about 3 straight games, and I was kind of surprised to not see him shoot one against Vanderbilt. But yeah, him and Keyshawn, I think, are growing up a little bit, and you kind of expected maybe a little bit more of that from Gabe, seeing that he was one of only like 3 guys on the roster this year that had any prior SEC experience. So he's been there, not in those wars like Mike calls them against like LSU and some of those other big name teams. But he has been there before, and I think he's letting the game come to him instead of going and getting it. I think that makes a big impact. Yeah, those guys are starting to grow up for sure.
Mike talks about, his guards being willing rebounders. I mean, when you look at the stat sheet, Mason Jones is averaging roughly 5 rebounds. Isaiah Joe, 3 rebounds. Jalen, 3 rebounds. Talk about how big that is going forward. And then also, too, Keyshawn Embry-Simpson, he'll get in there and grab 1 to 2. Talk about that when your guards in this system in particular are willing rebounders. How much, when we always talk about they're going to have to be a transition team, Scotty. How much does that help when they'll get in there, get rebounds, and start it even faster by, initiating the break?
Yeah, I think you hit on it. Anytime your guards can kind of get in and sky for rebounds, that kick starts your break a little bit faster than, I know Dan obviously grabs rebounds, and obviously the first thing he does is he looks for Jalen or one of the guards to initiate it. That takes a second.
Right.
And when Mason grabs a rebound, he doesn't always advance with a pass, but he always puts the ball on the floor and headed toward the other end. Yeah, Mason's probably the team's best rebounding guard. I think he was second on the team in rebounding in December or January, I believe. So he's done a good job. I think if you can just get some contributions from Jalen and Isaiah, and a guy like Desi, he's fearless. If he can keep from getting hurt in games, I think he likes to stick his nose in there. He likes to stick his nose in there, and he'll box bigs out. And Keyshawn nails guys for a couple rebounds, I think, last week. So it's anytime those guys can get in and just kind of alleviate some of the rebounding pressure that Gabe and Adrio and Dan and Reggie have, that's going to be nothing but a positive.
We've got about a minute left, and last question. Now, 2 years ago, Arkansas went in there, and the unsung hero was Trey Thompson with the last second block there at the end of the ball game. Who's your designated star of the game when Arkansas travels to Columbia tomorrow on the SEC Network?
I honestly think one of the biggest matchups to watch tomorrow is going to be whoever's covering Chris Silva.
Right.
And Mike talked about it yesterday. I think a big thing is going to be which big can stay out of foul trouble. Dan draws lots of fouls. Chris Silva's one of the best in the country. We talked about his free throw rate yesterday. It's absurd. But I don't think those 2 guys are going to be matched up on each other. I feel like Mike's going to put Dan on Felipe Haase or Mike Kotsar, and I think that's going to leave Adrio, Gabe, and Reggie to kind of rotate and just kind of take their turns on Chris Silva. So I think Reggie, Adrio, and Gabe are going to be big if they can be productive and kind of limit Chris Silva collectively. I think that'd be a big key.
Well, Scotty, as always, love having you on. You have a blessed weekend. I know you may be traveling to this ball game. And if you are, you have safe travels, and thanks for always taking time out on the hill, my brother.
Yeah, you bet. I promise I'll be on time next week.
Hey, you're part of the fastest 40. You get a pass.
I appreciate it. Y'all have a good weekend.
All right, you too, my bud. That was Scotty Bordelin of the Arkansas Democrat Gazette. Demetrius, we caught him. I mean, like I said, I don't know who's faster, Scotty or the fastest 40. We caught him. It was a great show. Caught up with both of our guys. Otis Kirk, I know Otis is a busy guy. I want to give a thank you. It's been a long week for Otis and the guys ourselves, as we've covered quite a bit this week. You know that? Games at Arkansas here, signing day. We've had great shows, but we want to leave you by thanking